We're back on Country Pocket on WUSB with Joshua Ray Walker. He ain't dead yet. You just heard Blue Jeans, and I feel like that was a pretty powerful moment in your journey um, where you sort of said that there's this cycle going on, and I need to be the one to break it. Um,
Yeah, I think that's part of the narrative of that song.
Tell me about what you talked earlier about family members going through it. So tell me about what you've seen.
Um, I feel like it the song is somewhat self-deprecating, not just of me, but my lineage as well. It's like I do have terrible eyesight, I have terrible teeth, just genetically, like there's lots of disease in my family, mental and physical, and it's like as far as the gene pool goes, I feel like maybe got the short end of the stick, and that's not really something that is very nice to put into words when you still have family members that are living. But it's just how I was feeling in that moment, and I don't like an "oh woe is me" sort of song. So I tried to make it a little bit more open-ended in the song, but um, yeah, sometimes it feels a little bit like you uh, kind of got a bad hand. And my dad, he died of lung cancer when he was 53. My grandfather died of lung cancer when he was 75. My other grandfather died of bone cancer when he was 70. My grandmother had cancer. I like seven of my eight great grandparents had cancer. Um, so it's one of those things where I always knew it was coming. Not always, but like the statistically it's likely that it's going to happen at some point in my lifetime. I just really didn't see it coming at 33. Um, and so that caught me off guard. And this song is a little bit about that, I guess.
Talking about not having children, you do have a fiance now. Um, so if the buck stops here, what do you have sort of as your going forward plan?
There's no plan, but you know, circumstances have changed since the song was written. So neither of us are in a rush, but it's not off the table, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What changed your mind?
Um, I don't know. I guess it didn't change my mind as much as I could be persuaded, whereas before it seemed like a pretty conclusive, uh, you know, decision just for time's sake. And what I was going through at you're not really going to try to have a kid whenever you're dealing with a terminal illness. So it I guess just the fact that the circumstances have changed, have changed my opinion on the subject.
Well, let me tell you something. 150 days away from home with a kid is definitely different than 150 days away from home without one. Uh,
Yeah, I think that that has always been a really big reason for me not really having any interest in it. Uh, just because, like, if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure that I'm present. And at this point in my career, that would be almost impossible. Although I know plenty of musicians who are great parents who are gone a lot and they seem to pull it off. So um, I just can't imagine how I would right now. But like I said, it's just more open-ended, I guess, than when I wrote the song where it seemed like it was definitely not a possibility.
So, you mentioned that you were working on a documentary. Um, you tend to, you know, make quite a bit of new music all the time. So I was a little shocked to see that this one ended on "Thank you for listening" again. Um, so why turn back to that song? Why have that sort of be your if this was going to be your funeral album, people people on air can't see the cover, but if they did, it does look very much, like a floral wreath around a picture of someone who's passed. So, if this was going to be your swan song, why did you pick that one?
Um, I really just have such a huge appreciation for anyone that's given me the opportunity to do what I do, and I think thank you is a pretty good way to end anything. Um, just like you would a letter. So for me, it's like, sure, the album's about me, but in the end, like, I wouldn't get to do any of this if people didn't listen to the songs. And it seems like a natural close um, to the record and the name of the documentary as well, because I'm I'm shocked that I've gotten to do any of this. I played on the street for years so that I could get gigs playing to no one in dive bars, and the fact that I get to travel the world, and I mean, I'm going to sell out a show in the Arctic Circle on this tour that I'm about to leave on. That's that's insane. Just a kid who grew up playing on the street in Dallas can go sell out a show in literally the middle of nowhere. And um
I mean, what else do
and
those people have to do?
that's true. But the fact that, you know, people can show up for my shows around the world and they want to hear me play my original songs, and that anyone listens just kind of blows my mind. The fact that I've gotten to do late night twice, or that I've played the Opry multiple times now, those are like my biggest pie in the sky dreams of being a musician, dreams that I never really thought would actually come to fruition. So um, that's only possible because of people wanting to hear what I have to say, and I'm just eternally grateful. So it seemed like a pretty fitting end to the album to just say thank you to everyone.
Well, I'll just obviously our first conversation was a bit more fun than this one. I'm gonna go back to that happy, chaotic energy for a moment. You put out one of my favorite covers albums ever with "What Is It Even?" which really
Mm,
does capture sort of the feeling of hearing you countrify some really diverse genres. But my favorite one off that album was your take on Halo. And I feel like that is wrapped up so much in this whole wider cultural conversation of can Beyonce legitimately be country? And you, I think, did a pretty effective job of showing that when when you take Beyonce and put put the right instruments, you can really have a country song. So
yeah.
what did you think of seeing the country world sort of go up in flames when she put out a country album and people liked it?
Um, I think that country music as a genre has been changing since its inception. And when people try to hold on to what country means, it's just kind of silly. Like for me, I know what country music means for me. And for me, it's um, storytelling. And that can be done in a lot of different ways. But as far as the sound of country music, we haven't, the people as a whole who love country music haven't owned that since the 50s. It's been changing decade by decade for years. And I think that, Beyonce kind of leading the charge for a lot of pop artists to cross over and make albums is just another big shift in country music that happens every so often. Um, I think that it did a great job of shining light on artists that have been trying to cut a path. People of color who've been trying to make records in Nashville for years were featured on that record, which is really, I think, a positive step. And then also, like, she grew up in Houston. Like, if she wasn't Beyonce, I don't think anyone would bat an eye at her making a record. Of course, there was a ton of pop influence in the production of the record, but there's also a ton of pop. I mean, there's a backbeat on like every Morgan Wallen song. So it's like, it's just kind of silly to say that one thing is or isn't country, um, just because someone's switching genres at this point. But I love to see it. Um, I think it's great that she tried to lean into some of the roots of country music and where it came from, even though I would have liked to hear that a little bit more in the production. Uh, that doesn't change the fact that she's celebrating a history of a genre um, that a lot of times people don't know the history of. So I was happy to see it, and of course, I heard the country song in there first. I think my cover of Halo came out before the Cowboy Carter record was in the works, so you know,
Yeah, you're a
I
bit
heard
ahead
I
of the
heard
curve.
I heard it.
Yeah, if you ask me, I think there were some very good country songs on what seemed like a pop record to me, but what you sort of noted was she's not the first person to do that. It's just, I think because of the color of her skin, people treated her differently for doing it when
Of course.
countless people before her did it and got called, mainstream country artists these days. I would certainly call Cowboy Carter closer to, featuring real country music than some of the stuff going on right around when we were, in college and bro
Sure.
country was peaking.
Honky tonk, badonkadonk, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was like I found it to maybe be a distasteful reaction, but I do really like that we have a traditional country album category now so that we can sort of celebrate looking forward and looking back. It's not so much of a competition between the two.
I agree. I hope to see people of color in the traditional country category as well. And I hope that the categories are split by production uh, choices and not by skin color. But I also agree that there is a place for a traditional country category because before you either had to fit in with radio country, which was very difficult to compete with, or you had to fit squarely in the Americana genre, and sometimes something with a little too much twang in it doesn't really fit there either. So I feel like the traditional country category is an important change that's been made there, and I'm excited to see kind of how that plays out this year. But um,
I think you've got an album that would fit pretty nicely in there.
yeah, I think it's funny. Ain't Dead Yet probably leans more Americana than most of my records so far. But in the past, like in my first three records, it was hard to find a place. Kind of the same way, Jesse Daniels has the same issue, artists of that sort, even Charlie Crockett. It's like we don't really fit on traditional pop country radio, and we also don't really fit on the non-com, Americana stuff. And um, although it's changing all the time, but yeah, I think there's a place for that distinction. Um,
And it'll never
and
stay still.
it will never stay still. And I do have to say, I have a doctor's appointment that I need to get to. So do you have
Let me wrap this up quick
okay.
with my concluding song. Um, I wanted to ask you, because you did such a good job at spotting the country song in Halo, uh, just to nominate a song written by someone other than you to close things out. Something that you see the country song in.
I was just thinking about this the other day. I didn't think a lot about genre as a teenager when I was listening to music, but I realized a lot of my favorites. I was not an album person. I know that's not a good thing to say as an artist. I was never someone growing up who would listen to full albums. I was definitely a favorite song by artist type of person. And I've realized over the years that all of my favorite songs by certain artists were kind of their most country songs. Like I'm on Fire by Bruce Springsteen. Love that. Or like the other day I realized I wasn't a huge Coldplay fan, but they have a song called Green Eyes that I used to cover. And that song even has a little bit of steel in it. It's like buried, which I didn't notice the steel when I was a teenager, but listening back the other day, I did, and I realized my favorite Coldplay song is my favorite Coldplay song because it's actually just a classic country song. So maybe Green Eyes by Coldplay would uh would fit there since that just came to me last week.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming back on the show and good luck. I feel like I have to say this for you in particular. Good luck with your doctor's appointments and
Thank you. I appreciate it.
keep it going, man. Really, what a beautiful way of handling such a rough time in your life.
Well, thank you. Great being back on. Thanks so much for having me.
Joshua Ray Walker, again, ain't dead yet.
See ya.